Hello everyone, in today's tutorial we'll see how to create this really cool image of Santa sitting on top of this beautiful vintage car using Adobe Photoshop. But before we're gonna do that, I just want to tell you happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And also don't forget to subscribe and comment and leave a like. Alright, so let's get to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and open Photoshop and then let's open our file. Alright, so I want to use this image as our background, and also I want to merge it with this image in here. They are from the same 3D renders, and all these images that we're gonna use, you will find them down in the link. Every image you will have a link in the description below, you can download it. Alright, so let's go ahead and open this background in here. Alright, as you can see, this is a very nice 3D render that looks very robotic and also very cyber. So I thought it would be very nice to use this as a background image. And we will base this our final image with the same resolution and everything. Alright, so let's go ahead and open the other image, which is this one. I'm gonna take it and open it in here, and I will make it smaller because I want to replace this circle door in here of this neighborhood. I want it to have this background in here. So let me make the opacity a little bit down, and I will try to place my image in here somewhere right there. I'm just trying to match the same circle with the other one, just like that. And I will one click on this check mark, and then I will put back the opacity to 100%. Alright, now I'm gonna apply a layer mask, and I will use my brush and try to blend this using black as my foreground color. I will try to blend this with the other background in here. Oh, it's like that. It would be very easy to do because it has the same lighting and everything. And maybe I will delete a little bit on the top. And I like this paw, so I'm just gonna blend it in here. Also, I can blend a little bit this cable. Alright, something like that. I think it looks good. And a little bit in here. Just like this. So we'll bring back these lights. Alright, I think it looks good. Alright, I think it looks okay. Okay, now I'm just gonna put this in a group. So I'm just gonna unlock this using Alt or Option and double click and select them both and press Ctrl Command G, and I will call this BG for background. Alright, next I'm gonna place the vintage card that we're gonna use. So let's go ahead and open it. It's this one. So I'm just gonna double click on it to open because it's a PSD. This card I downloaded from Envato Elements. The good thing about this, it has already the shadow and they are separated, which is perfect. So I'm just gonna select it, both of them, and press V and take it to the other image in here. And I'm just gonna place it, that's right there. Maybe make it a little bit bigger by pressing Ctrl Command T, and I will place it somewhere around here. Yeah, something like that. I think it will be good. I already choose the right perspective for this 3D car. The good thing about it, you can download it using whatever angle you want. Alright, next I will put the Santa in here. The Santa image that we'll be using, which is this one. I already got the Santa. I already have it in a PSD. So I'm just gonna open it in here, and as you can see, this is before and this is after. I already have the path in here of my pencil in here, as you can see. So I didn't want to record this because it will take longer, but it's basically using the pencil and following the edges and everything. If you want a tutorial about the pencil, you can just let me know, and I will dedicate a tutorial about using the pencils. Alright, now before we're gonna place the Santa image to our main document, I want to change the hand, or in this right hand with a robotic hand. So let me just close this for now, and let's go back to this, and then I will go and open the hand that we'll be using. I will be using these two hands in here. I'm just gonna take them and open them in a same document. Alright, let me just hide this for now, and I will take this. I'm gonna press Ctrl Command T, and then I will right click and choose flip horizontal, and let me place it somewhere to fit my image. So I want it to be the same. As you can see, I want this to be in here. Also, I want it to be a little bit bigger. Let me just make it bigger, somewhere around here. I don't like this, so this way we have the other one. So let me just choose the right angle. Let's make it a little bit bigger, and I will one click on this check mark. Alright, now we'll apply a layer mask on this, and I will use a brush, and I will delete this part in here that I don't like, using black as my foreground color. Just delete these parts in here. Alright, now we'll just duplicate this same image in here, and the one that is down, I'm gonna press Ctrl or Command T, and I will rotate it a little bit to have that missing fingers in here. Yeah, something like that. I think it will work. Yeah, and I will delete all the unnecessary stuff in here. like those ones in here. And also from this part, and in this part too. Alright, now I want to create the finger in here, this one. So I'm just gonna use the other image. I'm gonna take it like that. Then we'll use the marquee tool to make a selection of this part in here. Gonna make a selection just like this, and then Ctrl+Command+C to copy, Ctrl+Command+V to paste. And I will just take this one and use it for this finger in here. Let's make it a little bit wider. Yeah, something like this. Alright, something like that, and I will put it in the back. And let me go back to the other image, and also want to use this part in here. So using the same lasso tool, I will select this part, Ctrl+Command+C, Ctrl+Command+V to paste, and I will put it in the back, and then Ctrl+Command+T, and let's make it smaller. Yeah, something like this. And let me put it in the back of the other one. Let's see. Alright, let me just create another layer mask for this one. And using my brush, I will just delete this in here, and I will do the same for the other one. I will delete this one in here, and let's see now. I think it looks good. Let me just merge them together by pressing Ctrl+Command+E. And then I want to darken them a little bit by pressing Ctrl+Command+L to open the level adjustment, and I will darken this a little bit. Alright, and then I'm gonna press Ctrl+Command+U to open the hue and saturation, and I will put the lightness down. Also I will put the saturation a little bit down because it's a little bit below. Alright. Now I think I'm gonna merge all the hand. So I will select this layer, and then I will press Shift and select the top robotic hand, and I will press Ctrl+Command+E, and this will merge them in one layer. Alright, now it's time for us to place our image. So let me press Ctrl+Command+T, and I will just rotate it a little bit. Yeah, somewhere around here, I think it will look good. Yes, you are. I think this part, there's something in here. Let me just choose the eraser tool and erase it. Alright. Alright, something like that. And then I will apply a layer mask. And using my brush, I will delete these parts that I don't need. like that, and then I will go back, try to merge everything in here. I think it looks good. Now we need to remove all these areas that they are shown in here. So let's create a new layer on top of the Santa layer. Let me just call this Santa, and let's call this clone. And then I'm gonna press S for my clone stamp tool, and I will just clone this away. So I'm gonna press Alt or Option and select information from here, and I will just remove all this, the white edges in here, and doing the same to the other one. And I have the clone set to current and below, which is very important. Alright, and I will do the same in here. And for this one, just remove it. Just like that. I need to remove this too. And this one in here need to be removed. And a little bit of red in this part in here. Alright, I think it looks good. You just see. Alright, now I'm gonna create a little bit of shadows in these areas and also in here. And let me see. Maybe I will remove this white edge in here. Alright. Okay, now it's time for us to put some shadows. Alright, so let's start with this place in here. So on top of the clone layer, we'll create another layer. And let's call this shadows. And using my brush, I will select the same shadow color that we have in here, maybe this one. Alright, and then I will go and I will just paint that's right in the edge in here. And the same in these areas. And in here too. And a little bit in this part. Then I will change the blending mode to multiply, and I will double click on this layer to open the blending options, and I will go to the blend F, and I will split this white point of the underlying layer, so for this to be applied only in the shadow areas. It's like that. And maybe I will put down the opacity a little bit. Alright, now I'm gonna create a shadow on top of this arm. So I will just go and put another layer on top of the robotic hand, and I will call this shadow, and I will clip it to the robotic hand, and let me sample dark or like this color in here, and I will just add a little bit of color in here just to create this shadow. Then change the blending mode to multiply. Again, I will do the same with the blend F. We'll split the white to apply this only in the shadow. Yeah, something like that. Maybe, yeah, something like this. I think it looks good. Maybe put down the opacity a little bit. Alright, now I want to create a little bit of shadow for this part in here, so I will go back to the shadows in here, and I will add a little bit of shadow just right there. Just like that. Alright, so I think we are good with the Santa and also the robotic hand. I think I want a little bit more shadow in this part in here, so I will create another layer on top of the shadow layer of the Santa, and I will just darken this part. Then just select this, and I will darken this part in here and change the blending mode to multiply, and I will put down the opacity a little bit, and maybe I will do the same for the hand. Or darken this part of the hand and change the blending mode to multiply. Maybe delete a little bit in here using the eraser tool. And put down the opacity a little bit. Yeah, I think now it looks much better. Yeah, I think it's good. Alright, now we have our Santa and also the hand. So I'm gonna save this in my original PSD in here. So I'm gonna press Ctrl Command S, save it just in case I want to go back and use it later. And then I'm gonna press Ctrl Shift Alt E to make a stamp visible layer of the Santa here on top, as you can see, and I will call this Santa. And then I'm gonna press V and take this and open it in and drag it to the other image in here. And then I will right click and choose Convert to Smart Object, and I will press Ctrl Command T and make it smaller. And I want to place it on top of the car, like Santa is sitting on top of the car. So something like this. And maybe a little bit smaller. And put this down a little bit. Yeah, something like that. I think it looks good. And let's just close this and press yes to save. And I think we are good with the Santa and the car. Okay, Now I want to add a Christmas bag in the back seats in here. Alright, so let's go ahead and open it. Go to my file, open it in the same document, and let me actually zoom in and rotate it a little bit and put it just right here. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Let me see. Alright, something like that, and I will click on this check mark, and then I will just right click and choose convert to smart object, and then I'm gonna add a layer mask, and I will switch to my brushes by pressing B, and I have 90% hardness with 100% opacity, 100% flow, and I will start deleting using black, just like that, and I'm gonna switch to white, and I will reveal this part in here. Alright, something like this. Maybe put more in here. Alright, I think it looks good. Alright, now we have, I think, everything we're gonna use for this image. So now we need to actually match the colors of the background with all these items that we added. So to do that, there are lots of ways to do that, but for me I like to use the selective color to create a saturation map. So I would go and open a selective color in the adjustment, and to create a saturation map, make sure that you use absolute, and then go to the colors and put minus 100% to all of them. So the red, everything in the red should be minus 100%, and everything in the yellow, so basically all the colors. So I will do it quick, even though I already have it saved in my presets, but I will do it for you to see. Maybe you can do it and save it for yourself too. So I will do this to everything. Magenta, and when it comes to the white, I will do the opposite. I will put 100% for everything in the white, and 100% for all the neutral color or channels, and the black 100% for everything. It's like this, and you end up with a saturation map adjustment. And now you can just go ahead and save it, so you can use it in other work if you want. I already have mine in here saved, so you can just go ahead and load it just like that, and it will be easy. You don't have to redo it again, but make sure in here it's set to absolute. Alright, now as you can see the difference, this is very white comparing to the background. As you can see, this is the whitest points that we have in here, when because it's light, so this way it's very white in here. So we need to match all this with our background. So let's start with the car. So I'm gonna select the car, and then I will go to adjustment and choose hue and saturation, and then I will clip it to the car layer in here. So I will select this hand in here, that will allow me to adjust the saturation of a color. So I'm gonna select this hand, and then I will go and sample this and take it down to match. Let's see, to match this color in here. Alright, and I will do the same for Santa. I will select the layer, and then I will go to adjustment and choose hue and saturation, and again I will clip it and use the same hand. I will select a point and I will drag down. Alright, something like this. And the same for the Christmas bag. adjustment, hue and saturation, clip it, and I will just select the hand in here, and I will just put it down just like that. Alright, I think now they are a little bit better. I mean, we still need to play with the highlights and exposure. Alright, so let's do that. Let me just select the selective color map saturation, and then I will go again to the car, and you can either use levels, curves, or exposure itself. So I will go to adjustments and choose exposure, and then I will clip it, and I will put down the exposure a little bit, something like that. Maybe the gamma correction and put it a little bit up. Alright, yeah, I think it's better. And I will do the same for Santa. We'll go to adjustment, exposure, clip it, put down the exposure a little bit, it also put up the gamma correction, and the same for the Christmas bag in here, exposure, clip it, and let me see, yeah, and the gamma correction too, yeah, something like that. And now we can see, as you can see now, it's blending much better than before. Alright, so I'm gonna keep this on top just in case I want to go and check before and after. Alright, now I want to add a little bit of shadow of the Santa in here. So I'm just gonna select the polygonal lasso tool in here, and then I will go to the Santa layer, and I will press Ctrl Command and one click, and this will put a layer under the Santa layer, and I will call this shadow 1. And then I will use my polygonal lasso tool, and I will just make a shape just inside for now. Then I will come to this point, and I will just do a contact shadow, a very small one. So I like the shape of the polygonal lasso tool, following just like this. I mean, there are lots of different ways to add shadow, but each image I use a different way or more comfortable way. So you can use a brush if you want, it's also easier to do, but let me try with this and see how it will look like. Alright, something like this, and I will close it. That's right here. Alright, now we'll fill this with a color, so I'm just gonna let me sample this color in here. So I'm gonna press Alt. Let me actually choose the eyedropper tool. Yeah, let's sample this color in here and press OK. And then I'm gonna press Alt Backspace or Option Backspace and Ctrl D or Command D to deselect. And as you can see, we have this as this color. And then I will change the blending mode to multiply, and I will go to filter, and I will choose blur, Gaussian blur, and I will give it like 2 pixels in the radius, something like this, and I will press OK. And as you can see, we have a very nice contact shadow. And if you want to blend this even more, you can just go to the blending options by going to this FX icon, and in the blend if in here, use the underline layer, and then press Alt or Option and split this white point in here, and this will blend it with the car, as you can see. Yeah, something like this, but I want it to look dark, so something like that, and I will press OK. Alright, now we're gonna add another layer, and let's call this shadow 2, and we'll do the same using the same lasso tool. or a polygonal lasso tool. I'm gonna press L, and I will start from the inside, just like that. And for this one, I want it to be looking like this. Yeah, so. And here, maybe just like this. And like this. Yeah. Alright, and I will close it, and then again I will fill it with the same color by pressing Alt backspace or Option backspace, and then Control Command T to deselect, and again change the blending mode to multiply, and let's go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and let me blur it quite a bit this time. As you can see, I like this part, that's why I use the polygonal lasso tool. Yeah, something like that. I think it would be good. Maybe 6 pixels. And then again, I will blend it using the blend F. So I will go to this FX icon, blending options, and split in the white point by pressing Alt or Option. Something like this. And maybe bring down the opacity a little bit. Alright, something like that. Yeah, I think it looks good. Now I want to add a little bit of lights in this headlights in here of the car. But first let me group these together. I'm gonna press Ctrl Command G and call this Santa Shadow. Alright, and then I will create a new layer, and let's call this car lights. Alright, now I will switch to my brushes, and the brush I'm using is a soft round brush. And let me actually zoom in, and I want it to be in the same shape of this lights of the car, or the headlights of the car. So I will just open the brushes and I will make it a little bit oval like this, and I will rotate it using my arrow key. Yeah, I think something like that. And let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, something like this. I think it will work. And for the color, I want a soft, like yellowish to orangey color, maybe even blue. I think also blue can work. Alright, so let's keep it with the blue, and I will just go and one click like that, maybe a little bit bigger. And maybe 50% opacity of the brush. Alright, something like this, and then I'm gonna change the blending mode to linear dodge, and I will open the blend if options in the blending modes and the blending options, and this underline layer I'm gonna split the black point so it can fade with underline whatever underneath. Yeah, something like this. I think it looks good. Alright, and I will do the same for the other one. Make it smaller, and maybe I will put it a little bit smaller than this. Yeah, something like that. And again, I will use the same technique. Alright, something like that. I think it looks good. maybe I will add a little bit of raise, just like that. Let me see. I'll create a new layer on top, and I will make the opacity 100%. And let's start with this one in here. So I will rotate my brush, and then I will one click, just like that. And then we're gonna press shift, and I will one click in here, and this will create this line in here. Next, I'm gonna press Ctrl Command T, and I'm gonna distort it using Ctrl and Shift to distort it like this, and a little bit down. Let me see, put it a little bit up, and the same for this. There are lots of ways to do this, but this is much easier to draw it. So, or maybe you can use an overlay. It's also a good idea. I think we can make it work. Maybe put it a little bit in here. Alright, something like that. And then I will change the blending mode to, let's see, screen. Yeah, let's go for screen. And let's see if we put it under it. Let's keep it up. And then I'm gonna add a black layer mask by pressing Alt Option and one click. And I will switch to my gradient. And the gradients I have is foreground to transparent. And also it's the linear in here. Alright, so we'll just go and make one point in here and one click and drag, just like that. Let me redo this, one click and drag, just like this. And as you can see, this will create this really nice raise. You can add more if you want, but I think I will go with it like this for now. Maybe I will even delete a little bit. Let me see. Just redo this from here. Just like this. Yeah, I think it looks much better like that. Maybe I can just copy it and put it in the other one. So let's make a copy. And let's press Ctrl Command T, drag it to the other light. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Alright, something like that. I think it will work. I think it looks okay. Alright. Now we have our lights of the car. Maybe we can add a little bit of shadows to blend and dust to make the lights even more interesting and realistic. Alright, let me just group this. I'm gonna select them all, press Ctrl Command G, and let's call this car lights. Alright. Now I want to add some reflections of these tires in here. It's not really necessary to do it, but I think they might look nice. I can always delete them if I don't like them. Alright, to do that I'm gonna use the clone stamp tool. Always the easiest way to do things. I will go for it. So I will hide the background for now. And then I will create a layer on top of this car in here. This is the exposure. I'm gonna create it, and it's not clipped. And then I'm gonna press S to open my clone stamp tool. We can just open it from here. And for this you need to open the clone source. If you can't find it, just go to Window and choose clone source in here. Because I want to clone, but also I want to clone it in a vertical way, or actually in a horizontal way, which is that we're gonna do it from here by one click on this horizontal icon in here. You can actually clip horizontally, which means that you can, this wheel, you can clip it in here or clone it down in here, and it looks like a reflection, which is very easy to do. And make sure that in here show overlay is checked so you can see what you are going to do. And also I'm gonna use all layers because I don't want to use the current and below. So I will go zoom in and press Alt or Option and one click to take the information from here, and then I will make my brush bigger and I will clone just like that everything in here. Alright, then I'm gonna press Ctrl Command T and put it just right about there. Yeah, I think it looks good. For this I'm gonna do it in separated layers, so I'm just gonna create another layer and again clone this part just like this, very easy. Maybe this part too, and then create another layer, clone this part too, just like that. And then Ctrl Command T, rotate it a little bit, maybe distort it a little bit. Alright, and another layer for the fourth one. So Alt or Option, one click, and take the information just like that. And then Ctrl Command T, rotate it a little bit. Alright, now we have everything. I know it doesn't look that good for now, but I think it will do. So I'm gonna merge everything together by selecting the fifth layer, pressing Shift, one click, and select the layer 2. And then press Ctrl Command E, and this will merge everything together. And let's call this car reflections, and I will put it under the shadow of the car and make the background visible. Alright, now I'm gonna blur this a little bit, so I would go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, and I want the angle to be, let's see, yeah, maybe something like this. Yeah, just like that, and press OK. And then I will change the blending mode to soft light and put down the opacity a little bit, just to give this interesting reflection of the flooring here. I think it looks okay. And also I think we can reflect the light a little bit. So to do so, I will create another layer, and let's call this light reflections. And maybe you can use the clone stamp tool again. You can just take this and put it just right here, a little bit in here. Alright, just like that. And then change the blending mode to color dodge, let's see, or screen, or overlay. I think overlay looks much better. I don't like this part, so I'm gonna delete it using my eraser tool. And bring down the opacity a little bit. Alright, I think it looks very cool. Alright, now I want to add a little bit of light reflection to the car. I mean, maybe coming from here, and of course we're gonna make it more stronger. Let's just add the same color in here. So let me just sample a color like purple one, maybe a little bit lighter. Yeah, something like this one. I think it will work. And then in the car layer, I will go and choose a solid color, and I will press OK because we already sampled the color that we want. And I will clip it by pressing Auto Option to the car in here. Alright, so what I want is this color to be shown only in this highlights places in here. And to do that, we're gonna use the blending options. So I will go to this FX icon and choose the blending options. And in the blending F in here, you can just go to this underline layer in the black points. As I can see, when I move it like this, you can see only the highlights areas that it's have the color, and that's what we want. So I wanted something like this, but as you can see, it's a little bit harsh. So I'm gonna press Auto Option and split this just like that. Maybe not that much, somewhere in here, and move this a little bit to the white. Yeah, I think something like this, it will look perfect in this, but I want it to be brighter a little bit, so maybe I will change it to lighten. Let me see, or soft lights. I think it looks interesting. Let's see the before and after. I think it looks nice. Of course, we're gonna delete it from this part. So I will select the layer mask and choose my brush. Let me just choose a soft round brush, and I will just zoom in a little bit and delete using black from all these areas in here, because I don't want to be purple. Maybe a little bit in this part, and delete from this part, and also from the seats. Now I think it looks good. So we're gonna do the same using this other color. So let me zoom in a little bit and choose this color in here, maybe a light blue. Okay, and I want it to reflect this part in here. Alright, so let's create a solid color, and let me just hide it and sample the color again, just like that. Now we have the same blue, and again clip it, and we'll do basically the same in this underline layer, and then split by pressing Alt. Yeah, something like this. I think it's perfect. And change the blending mode to, let me see, lighten. I think lighten will do. Alright, I think it looks okay. Yeah, maybe I would change the purple one or pink one to lighten. Let's see. Oh yeah, I like it. I didn't delete from this area, so I will delete using black. I will delete all these parts that I don't want to be shown as purple. And then the blue layer, I will select the layer mask, and let me actually zoom out. Alright, so now using black, I will delete all this that I don't want in these areas that I don't want. For example, here, a little bit in here, and in this part too. This part too. Alright, something like that. Alright, I think it looks good. Maybe delete in here and in this area. Alright, I think it looks okay. Maybe a little bit strong. I'm gonna put down the opacity a little bit to 70%. Alright, I think that will work. Okay, so I will go and do the same for the Christmas bag. So let me just copy these two solid colors and press Alt or Option and make a copy of them and clip it to the red Christmas bag in here. And let's select each layer mask and turn it to white, and for this one too, turn it to white, and let's start with the purple. Let me actually change this to linear dodge and see. Maybe I will adjust the blend F in here. Yeah, something like that. And then I will select the layer mask, and I have 20% in the opacity. Let me actually make it black, the layer mask, by pressing Ctrl Command I. And using white as my foreground color, I will just paint a little bit of the color on top of this, just like that. And see before and after. Maybe not in here. Alright, something like that. I think it looks good. And for the blue layer or solid color, I will change it to linear dodge again. And again, I will adjust the blend F. Maybe I will put it just like this. And again, I will switch it to black, the layer mask, by pressing Ctrl Command A. And I will do the same using white as my foreground color. I will apply a little bit of blue in here. Alright, something like that. And delete a little bit in this part. Alright. Okay, so I can add also for the Santa in here. So let's go to the Santa, and maybe I will use the same colors in here. So again, I will select them, press Alt or Option, and make a copy in here, clip it to the Santa layer, and switch the layer mask to all black by pressing Alt backspace or Option backspace. And let's start with the purple. I think it's good. Let me just paint a little bit of the color in here Yeah, just a little bit, not that much. And the same for the blue. Paint a little bit in here. Alright, something like that. Maybe a little bit in the arm. And a little bit in here. Okay, now I want to enhance those lights in here. So I will go on top and I will create a new layer and I will call this light 1. And I think for this one I will change this to linear dodge, and I will sample this bluish color in here. Alright, and I'm using 20% opacity, so I will just paint a little bit to add some lights. Just like that. Maybe make the brush bigger, add a little bit in here, but mainly I want to focus on this sign in here. Yeah, something like this, maybe a little bit in here. And by pressing the tilde key I can delete this from the shoulder or from the arm of the Santa in here. So it's like that, and maybe add a little bit more in here and delete again. Maybe delete a little bit in here. So that's what I'm going to do. I will sample a color, for example this color in here, and I will add a little bit of light to enhance the lights in here. Alright, I will do the same for this white light in here. Right, and this one too. Alright, so let's do it in this part in here, just a little bit. And sample a little bit in here. And do it in purple. Let me make the brush bigger and add a little bit in here, just like that. Alright, now we'll create another layer on top, and I will call this light 2. And this one I will change the blending mode to color dodge. And I will zoom in, and again I will sample a bluish color and make this brush smaller. And I will just put 50% opacity for the brush, and I will add a little bit of lights in here to enhance it even more. And of course, if we don't like it, we can always go back and put down the opacity or enhance it even more. Alright, so we'll add a little bit of more blue in here. The brush is slightly bigger, so I want it to be a little bit more aggressive, the light. And maybe delete a little bit from the center using the tilde key or the eraser tool. Alright, I think it looks okay. So let me just put them in a group, call this light. I will see if I want to put down the opacity or something. As you can see, I don't like this one in here. I think it's a little bit too much, so I'm gonna switch to my eraser tool and put down the opacity 20% and delete a little bit from here. Alright, I think it will do fine for now. And after we're gonna add a lot of adjustments, so everything will be blending together. All right. Alright, now I want to add a little bit of fog in this area in here, maybe in this area too. So I have the fog overlays in here that I'm gonna use. So we'll take them and open them in our document. And let me change this, let's see screen. And let's start with the light of the car. So something like this, I think it will be okay. Alright, and then I will, let me see, I think I will apply a layer mask and I will switch to my brush and I will start deleting using black as my foreground color. I will just start deleting from the areas that I don't want to be seen. Alright, something like that. Let me change the blending mode to see. I think screen or lighting are the best ones. Maybe screen. Maybe I will put down the opacity a little bit. Alright, I think this is okay. Then I will open the dust overlay. Alright, and make it a little bit smaller, somewhere around here, and change the blending mode to screen too. Let me zoom in. Maybe I will change it to color dodge. See, I think color dodge is much better. And then again, apply a layer mask and delete from the areas that I don't want. And maybe put down the opacity of the fog or the smoke. Alright, I think it looks okay. Maybe put down the opacity a little bit. Alright, something like that. Okay, I think it looks good. So I want to add a little bit of smoke or fog in this part too, so I will open the other one in here and change it to screen. And let me see. Here I will rotate it. I want to add a subtle fog. And maybe something like this. Maybe rotate it even more. Yeah, I think this is okay. We put down the opacity a little bit. Yeah, I think I like this. And I will group them all together. Press Ctrl Command G and call this fog. And let's see. I think it looks okay. Now I think we're gonna add some rim lights and things like that. So I will start with the center. Alright, so there are lots of ways to add lights to the edges. You can, for example, use hue and saturation, or you can use solid colors. For this, let's use the hue and saturation. And clip it and choose colorize, and I want this blue, maybe a little bit saturated. Something like this. And let's change it to soft light maybe, or overlay. I think it's too much. I will put it a little bit in the lightness. Alright, let's change this to black layer mask by pressing Ctrl Command I. And let's start adding a little bit of lights to the edges. So I'm gonna switch to my brushes. And let's make it smaller, and let me see, actually put 0% hardness and maybe 50% opacity and 50% flow. And start painting with white as my foreground color. Add a little bit of lights. I don't like the hue and saturation option, so I'm just gonna delete it and add a solid color using blue. Clip it and maybe play with the blend F, something like this, and then let's change it to, let's see, overlay, and then press Ctrl Command A to switch to black as your layer mask and add some lights. Want a lot of lights in this part. Because of the lights of the car. Maybe a little bit in here. Alright, now let's see. Let's delete this one. Now we're gonna add another solid color using the same color in here and clip it. This time I'm gonna change it to linear dodge add. And again I will play with the underline layer in the blend F. Yeah, something like that. Press OK, and then press Ctrl Command I to change the layer mask to black, and I will add some edges in the lights in here. Alright, I think it looks okay. Maybe this part is not that much. Also from here. Alright, now we're gonna add some rim lights. So let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna create another adjustment down. I think in here, maybe a curve or level, maybe even exposure, another one, and I will make it really bright. And then press Ctrl Command I and add some lines in here. Alright, I think it looks okay. It's a little bit of highlights and stuff like that, so maybe I will go back and add more. So I think for this it looks okay, and you can always add more for the car and everything, but for the sake of the tutorial I will just do this later maybe. So but basically it's the same technique. So yeah, I think it looks okay, and I think I'm gonna add some blending options to give more lights from the purple or from the pink area in here, and also from the blue. So what I'm gonna do is I will select the Santa, or actually I'm gonna press Ctrl or Command and one click on the Santa layer, and this will load the selection. And then I will add a layer on top of everything, and I will fill this with whatever color. So I'm gonna press Alt backspace and then Ctrl or Command delete, and I will put the fill for this to 0%. And what I'm gonna do is I will go to this FX icon and choose blending options, and style that I will want to use is the inner shadow, and let me put it to normal. And as you can see, we already have blue because we have blue in here, and I want the blue to come from this area in here. So let me put the size set to 0 and a little bit just like that. I think it will be good. And then change the blending mode to linear dodge or color dodge. I think color dodge it will work very good, and put the distance to 3 or 2 pixels, and maybe put the size a little bit more. Alright, so we're gonna remove a lot from this, but I think this looks good. Maybe not on the top, only in these areas in here. Alright, so I'm gonna press OK, and then I will put a layer mask, and using my brush I will delete in these areas in here, all the areas that I don't want them to be shown, just like this. I really like the side in here. I think it looks nice. I mean, I always go back and enhance it even more, but now I'm recording, so I think it looks okay. And we can do the same for this area too. So I will duplicate this and change the layer mask to white, and then let's hide this for now and open the inner shadow by double click on it, and this time I will choose a purple color, just like that. And let's see, maybe coming from here a little bit, and put the size to 18 or 20 pixels, and keep its color dodge, just like that, and press OK. And again I will delete, or let me actually press Ctrl Command I to put the layer mask into black. Let's reveal this for now, and let's reveal, instead of painting using white, let's reveal all this side in here. Maybe delete from this part. And then put down the opacity a little bit to 70%. Alright, I think it looks okay. So I went ahead and did the same for the Christmas bag. As you can see, I did exactly the same in here. And maybe I will do it for the car, but I think we are looking good. So I think we can wrap this up by adding some adjustments. And maybe you can even, if you want, you can add more items to this. So I don't want to make this tutorial very long, because the longer things the more things I add, the longer it is. So maybe you can add like some robots in these areas, maybe some like more electronic devices with some gifts in here. Thoughts about that. And there are some robots, you can add them in here. It will be Santa's helper, just like this. Just ideas that maybe you can do. And if you do this, just let me know or tag me and see. Maybe I can add them too if you want. Alright, so now let's just take a snap visible layer. Or maybe before we're gonna do that, I want to make this a little bit darker, or more like more night atmosphere to everything. So first let me group everything together. So we'll select this from the Christmas bag and press Shift and select the Christmas layer, and then press Ctrl Command G, call this Christmas bag. And do the same for the Santa, and I will call this Santa, and the same for the car, call this car. Alright, now we have everything. Alright, I think it's okay. Yeah, I will definitely go back and adjust this more, but I think for this it looks good. I mean, the only thing that I might do is to enhance more the lightings, or the lights color and everything. But for this I think it looks okay. The reflection looks good, and this one too. Maybe this is a little bit too much. You can maybe reduce it even more, like 50% opacity. Yeah, I think it's okay. Alright, now I want to add like a night light to everything. So I'm just gonna use a solid color with a nighty color in here, maybe this one. And I would change this to soft lights or overlay. And then I would add another one, and basically like the same color. And this one I will change it to hard light. Let me see, maybe this one in bottom, this one will make it more blue. This one desaturates it even more. Alright, and I will group them, pressing Ctrl Command G, and I will call this night. And I will drop down the opacity to like 50% or something. Yeah, maybe 50%. And I will put it under the fog and the night and the light groups. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Yeah, like 60%. You can see on top of everything. Yeah, I think I like this a little bit different. Yeah, maybe 50%. All right. All right, now I will add a curve. So I will go and choose curves, and I will keep it like this for now because I want to enhance the highlights a little bit. So I will just go to image, and then I will choose apply image. And what this does is it will actually take a stamp visible layer or a snapshot of what we have and put it in the layer mask of the curve. And as you can see, I have this merged, so which means that it will merge what is visible in here and put it in the layer mask, and that's what we want. So I only want to affect the highlights, so I'm just gonna keep it multiply, and I'm not gonna choose invert, and I will press OK. And I will do this again, image, apply image, and OK. And now if I press Alt or Option and open the layer mask, you can see it only affects the highlights of the image. So let me just double click on the curves, and let's play a little bit with the highlights of our image. I want to bring out the highlight quite a bit. I think I like this. As you can see, the lights of the car and everything. I think it looks okay. Alright, so let's do it again. Go to curve, and again I will go to image, apply image, and I will press OK. And I will just want to make it a little bit contrasty in here. Just like this. Let's see. Yeah, I think I like the second one better, so I will keep this one. Just like this. Alright, now I want to affect a little bit of the colors. So I would go again to curve and image, apply image, and this time I will keep everything the same, but I will choose invert. Alright, and then I will open my curves in here, and as you can see, now we're gonna affect the shadows in here. Alright, so we don't want that, we're just gonna go to the blue, and maybe add a little bit of blue. Not that much, a bit of yellow, and then go to the red and increase the red a little bit, and the green, maybe a little bit of cyan, like this. Alright, I think it looks good. I mean, I don't use this method a lot, but I thought maybe for this one it will look interesting. So this gives you a lot of control to use the highlights, and I really like the highlights of the car, as you can see, before and after. Very different. Alright, now I'm gonna make a stamp visible layer. So I'm gonna create a new layer, and I will call this camera raw. and then I'm gonna press Control Shift Alt E or Command Shift Option E all together, and this will create a stamp visible layer on top. And then I will right click and choose Convert to Smart Object. Alright, now I will go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and we're gonna play with this a little bit. So we're gonna start with the basics. Let's see the temperature. Maybe we can add even more blue and add more magenta, something like this. I mean, not a lot of blue because we already have blue in here. And the exposure, I think I'm happy with the exposure the way it was, like that. The contrast, I think I will put a little bit of contrast, and the highlights I will put them down a little bit to give that interesting look of a cyber effect in here. And the shadows, and maybe I will put up the shadows a little bit and bring the white up too. Yeah, something like that. Maybe put down the highlights even more, somewhere around 40, minus 40. Let's see before and after. I think it looks interesting. And I won't touch the black, but in the clarity I will put it down to minus 10 or 12, just to give it that glow. Not that much, maybe just like minus 10 or 12. And put up the haze a little bit to 8 or 7. And the vibrance I will put it up just a little bit, just like that. And I will keep the saturation the way it was. And then I will go to the effects in here, and I will add a vignette, a little bit like minus 20. And the midpoint I will make it a little bit wider, like 60, and feather it a little bit. Then I will add a little bit of grain, like 10 or 8 grain in here. Let's see before and after. I think I'm happy with this. Now let's see. You can always change the background of Photoshop to have another perspective to the image. So this is with white. Yeah, I think it looks very nice. Maybe we can add a little bit of blur to some areas of the image, and this will make everything looks even more interesting. So let's do that. But before we're gonna do that, I want to add a little bit of high pass. So I'm gonna take another stamp visible layer by pressing Ctrl Shift Alt E or Command Shift Option E all together, and let's call this high pass. And then I'm gonna desaturate this layer by pressing Ctrl Shift U or Command Shift U, and I will go to Filter, Other, and choose High Pass. And I want to give it like 2 pixels in the radius. I want to boost everything and change it to hard light, or I think hard light is good. This way now we can blur everything together and it will look more interesting. Maybe put down the opacity a little bit to like 70 or 80%. And for the blur, I'm gonna again make a stamp visible layer by pressing Ctrl Shift Alt E or Option Command Shift E, and let's call this blur. And then I will switch to the Q selection mode by pressing Q, and then I will press B for my brushes, and I will start brushing the areas that I want to be selected using black. So I want the blur to start from here, maybe down here, and a little bit in here. Not that much in this area, so I'm switching from black to white to add to the selection. And I definitely want to blur this part in here, so let me put the opacity to 50%, and I will blur this part of the image because I really don't like this area, and I think it's better to blur it out. Maybe a little bit in here, and a little bit, yes, right here. Alright, just random selections, but definitely this part I want it to be blurred. Alright, let's see how this will look. So I'm gonna press Q again, and then I'm gonna press Ctrl Shift I or Command Shift I to inverse the selection, and then I will go to Filter, Blur, and choose Lens Blur. Alright, I think 20 radius, it looks okay. Maybe I will put it down a little bit to like 10 and see. Yeah, like 15, I think it will looks best. Yeah, let's keep it 15. And then press Ctrl Command D to deselect. Let's see before and after. Yeah, I don't think it looks that bad. Maybe I will add a gradient map to wrap this up, and let's change the colors to maybe bluish color. This one. And for the whites I will change it to 50% gray by putting 50 in the brightness, and then I'm gonna change the blending mode to soft light and put down the opacity to, let's see, 30% or 40%, something like this. And I think that will be all. So this is our final image. We went from the background to this. Alright, so I hope that you enjoy and you like this tutorial and it was a little bit helpful for you. If you try this or if you do something similar, just let me know. And don't forget to subscribe and comment, and wait for more tutorials to come, and Merry Christmas. Thank you for watching.